All right, let's not sugarcoat this. Episode 6 just completely shattered every plan the boys had, and we are officially in panic mode. Homelander is immortal. The one nightmare scenario everyone was desperately hoping would never happen has happened. Soldier Boy walked up and handed him the V1 like it was nothing, and now the most dangerous, most unstable, most terrifying superhuman on the planet literally cannot be killed. Butcher's virus? Useless. Every strategy they had carefully built over this entire season? Gone. Evaporated in an instant. So the only question that matters right now is this: how on earth do you stop someone who cannot die? Before we go any further, massive spoiler warning. If you want to walk into Episode 7 completely fresh, now is the time to leave. Because we are breaking down theories, predictions, and some leaked details that could line up very closely with what actually happens. You've been warned. Let's get into it. The world after Episode 6. Here's where things stand. Homelander has always been terrifying, but there was always a ceiling on his power. There was always the possibility, however slim, that the right weapon, the right plan, the right moment could bring him down. That ceiling is gone now. He doesn't need the Seven anymore. He doesn't need allies. He doesn't need public approval or political cover, or any of the structural support he used to depend on. He has become, in the most literal sense, the god he always believed himself to be, and he is wasting absolutely no time acting like it. Episode 7 is titled The Frenchman, the Female, and the Man Called Mother's Milk, and if that title doesn't send a chill down your spine, it should. In television, when a penultimate episode gets named directly after specific characters, it is almost never a good sign for those characters. Add to that the fact that those are their comic book names, their formal full names, and it starts to feel less like an episode title and more like a tribute, a send-off. And if you've read the source material, you know exactly what fate the comics have in store for Frenchie, Kimiko, and MM before the story ends. The show has never followed the comics beat for beat, but that title is doing something deliberate, and it has every single fan on edge.
Homelander's takeover and what it means. From what the preview footage shows us, Episode 7 opens in the immediate aftermath of the V-1 situation, and the world has already changed. Homelander has effectively overthrown President Calhoun. The White House has been absorbed. Democracy is not just wounded, it is dead. In its place, Vought International and Homelander are running a full authoritarian regime. Mass surveillance, dissidents being thrown into camps, anyone who speaks out against the system disappearing overnight. It is a superhero dictatorship, and the boys are now the most wanted people in America. The team, Butcher, Annie, Huey, Kimiko, MM, and Frenchie are scrambling. They're regrouping, trying to figure out what their next move even looks like now that their primary weapon has been rendered completely pointless. You cannot use a virus designed to kill superhumans on someone who is biologically immortal, so they need a new plan, and the clock is already running out. Soldier Boy, the wild card who could change everything. This is where the most compelling theory of the entire season comes into play. Think back to that scene in Episode 6, Soldier Boy and Bombsight, the offer to take away his powers, give him mortality, give him a real human life, and Bombsight accepted. Soldier Boy stripped him completely, gave him back his humanity, and let him walk away with the person he loved. That scene was not a throwaway subplot. That scene was a setup. Because what it confirmed is that Soldier Boy's depowering ability doesn't just work on regular superhumans, it works on V-1 users too. It cuts through immortality, and that means he is, right now, the only being on the planet with the ability to reverse what happened to Homelander. The only one who can take back the gift he just gave his son. The theory is that Episode 7 is when Soldier Boy's conscience, whatever is left of it, catches up with him. He watches Homelander go completely off the rails. No restraint, no structure, no limits. Killing civilians, dismantling institutions, turning an entire nation into his personal kingdom. And Soldier Boy, for all his ugliness and all his many, many flaws, is still a soldier. He still carries some deeply warped version of patriotism inside him. Watching America get destroyed by the very person he handed the keys to, that is going to break something in him. But here is the gut punch at the center of this theory. Homelander is his son. Would Soldier Boy actually turn against his own child? That is the most emotionally loaded question the show has put in front of us. Their relationship has been one of the most complex, most painful things this season has explored. Soldier Boy wanting to be proud, wanting to see Homelander as the perfect soldier he never got to raise, and Homelander just desperately wanting a father who doesn't abandon him. If that betrayal comes, it is going to be devastating for both of them, and it will almost certainly push Homelander into the darkest place we have ever seen him.
Marie's arrival. The most dangerous person Homelander doesn't know about yet. According to multiple reports, Episode 7 is when Marie Moreau finally enters the picture properly. She has been referenced, she has been operating in the background leading a faction of Starlight's resistance, but we haven't seen her in action yet. And there is a reason the showrunners have been holding her back. Her powers make her uniquely threatening to someone like Homelander in a way that almost nothing else does. She is a blood manipulator. She controls blood inside living bodies. And here is the critical detail. Even with V1, even with full biological immortality, Homelander still has blood running through his veins. If Marie can reach that blood, she can theoretically make him vulnerable in ways that completely bypass his invulnerability. She could work to remove the V1 enhanced blood from his system. She could use his own biology against him in ways no one has ever managed before. That said, showrunner Eric Kripke has been clear that Marie is not arriving as some all-powerful savior who solos the final boss. She is still growing into her abilities, still discovering what she is actually capable of. She is not the end of the movie. She is one crucial piece of a much larger puzzle. The scenario that makes the most narrative sense is this. Soldier Boy weakens or partially depowers Homelander, creating a window, and Marie uses her blood manipulation to push through that window, creating an opening for the rest of the team to finish what they started. No single hero saves the day. Everyone contributes. Everyone pays a price. The deaths we've been dreading. Let's come back to that episode title because it is still haunting every conversation about this season. If Frenchie, Kimiko, and are genuinely being set up for their final moments in Episode 7, how does it happen? The preview is deliberately vague, but the language around this episode, massive casualties, brutal stakes, Homelander's paranoia reaching a point where no one around him is safe, paints a bleak picture. One strong theory is that the boys' base of operations gets attacked or destroyed, echoing the comics in spirit even if not in exact detail. Maybe Homelander tracks them down. Maybe it comes down to a sacrifice play where some members of the team give everything they have to buy the others a chance to keep fighting. And if it is those three, the emotional weight of it would be almost unbearable. Frenchie and Kimiko have spent this entire series slowly finding their way to each other, navigating trauma and guilt and love in equal measure. Watching them finally reach something real, only to have it taken away in the second-to-last episode of the whole show, that is devastating. has been the moral backbone of this team from day one, the one who kept pushing for the right way, the line that shouldn't be crossed, the principles worth holding on to even when everything is falling apart. If he dies in the fight against Homelander, it represents the total collapse of the world he was trying to protect. Sister Sage's miscalculation and what comes next. Here is another major thread running into Episode 7. Sister Sage is losing control of the situation she built. She is supposed to be the smartest person alive, every outcome calculated, every variable accounted for. But an immortal Homelander operating on pure paranoia and zero rational restraint is a variable no intelligence can fully predict. He is too chaotic now, too far gone. Even she cannot stay 3 steps ahead of someone who has stopped following any logic at all.
so she has to adapt. And the strong implication is that episode 7 is when she fully commits to the other side, quietly feeding the resistance the strategic intelligence they need to even have a shot at bringing him down. She would rather help dismantle Homelander's regime than get buried under it along with everyone else.
How episode 7 ends and what it sets up. As a penultimate episode, the job of episode 7 is to bring all the pieces together while making sure the stakes are at their absolute highest going into the finale. My read is that we are going to see the formation of a true last stand plan. Soldier Boy making his choice, Marie officially joining the fight, Sister Sage providing the framework, and the boys committing everything they have left to one final push. But it is going to cost them. The deaths, if they happen, likely land at the end of the episode, right before the credits, to drive home just how much has been lost and just how desperate things have become. The episode might close with Homelander partially weakened, his power fractionally chipped away, but still standing, still breathing, still furious, and now fully aware that even his own father has turned against him. That ending sets up the finale as all-out war. And if the comics give us any blueprint, with Butcher eventually becoming the threat that Huey has to stop, with Butcher's own desperation and mortality pushing him across lines he cannot come back from, then the final episode is going to deliver twists that nobody is fully prepared for. Butcher has been slowly dying all season. He has watched his plans collapse one by one. If he is standing in the rubble of episode 7 surrounded by fallen teammates with Homelander still alive, the question of how far he will go stops being theoretical. The finale is also receiving a theatrical 4DX release, being treated as a full cinematic event. That is not something you do for a standard series conclusion. That is something you do when you believe what you have made is genuinely on the level of a blockbuster film. Everything in episode 7 is building toward that moment. Whether Homelander actually dies in the finale, or gets stripped of his powers and locked away, or whether something far stranger and darker happens, we will not know until we see it. But what we do know is this: Episode 7 is going to break hearts, raise stakes to a level this show has never hit before, and set up an ending that people are going to be talking about for a very, very long time. Buckle up. May 13th is going to hurt.